Welcome into the locker room presented by Ted's Floors and Beyond. We have made it to the midweek point of the week, and we have got a great show. We're going to talk high school football today, preview all the East Alabama games for Week 9. I can't believe we've already made it to Week 9. For some teams, their seasons will end this week. For others, they'll move on into the Week 10 non-region with a game before the playoffs. For others, their season will end next week in the non-region week, but we're going to preview all the games for East Alabama this week. And then tomorrow and Friday, I will be live from Huntsville covering the AHSA North Regional Volleyball. We're expected to see White Plains and Jacksonville tomorrow morning. Maybe see Pleasant Valley later on in the day, Donahoe potentially, Alexandria. Those are a couple teams expected to have in action tomorrow in Huntsville. Going to be some placing matchups for others. For others, they're looking to get their regional started a strong way. I want to thank you for taking your Wednesday to join us this afternoon. Before you go to church, talk all local sports. Don't forget, if you haven't already, like our East Alabama Now page. And every weekday right here, 5 p.m., you can watch us on East Alabama Now, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. We're on all of the digital medias. The Locker Room with Namath Pitts, presented by Ted's Floors and Beyond. Don't forget, EAN News is every weeknight at 6:30. I have your local sports. Of course, Mike Stedham and Katie Edwards with your local news. John Holder with your weather on your street, and a whole lot more. So make sure to like our EAN News page. Let's talk high school football, East Alabama. But before we do, we don't have any highlights today, but I still want to give a shout out to our highlight sponsor, which is Lindsay Barger from Really Real Real Estate. And again, as always, do you love where you live? Well, together we can make your home dreams a reality. Lindsay Barger specializes in home buying, selling, and investing. Whether you want to buy a personal home, buy land to build a dream home, sell a rental home, and buy a home to flip and resell, she's your friend through it all. She would love to guide you in the process. So if you're ready to buy or sell, call her today at 256-441-2389. That's 256-441-2389. And don't forget to like and follow her on Facebook and Instagram as well at lindsaybarger.realtor. All right, let's look at our first game of the week. It is a game of winless. The Alexandria Valley Cubs and the Talladega Tigers. This game is two winless teams. Coach Todd Ginn and the Alexandria Valley Cubs still looking for their first win of the season. They're going to be at home against William F. Smith and the Talladega Tigers. This is two teams that have really struggled. Talladega's only scored 85 points all season long, giving up 359. Alexandria scored a little more, 159 points, giving up 389. But both teams, again, are winless. This is a non-region game, and this is Alexandria's last game of the season. So Alexandria's season will be over after this Friday night. So they are looking to finish things strong with a win. You have to go all the way back, guys, to the last time that Alexandria finished a season with one win or less. All right, this is how far you have to go back. You have to go back all the way to 1969 under Lou Scales when that team went 1-8 with one tiebreaker. That's as far back as you have to go to find an Alexandria team that's only won one game in school history. Now for Talladega, well, for the Tigers, last year they were winless at 0-10. They went 1-9 the year before, so they are looking to get a win, do something they did not do a year ago. And then you look at the matchup between these two teams for Alexandria and Talladega. In terms of these two teams playing each other, they are 6-6 against each other all time. So they both are 6-6 against each other, 6 wins, 6 losses. Last year, Alexandria won this game 69-21. Two teams looking for their first win of the season. This game will be at Death Valley. All right, let's move on to our next game. It's the Anniston Bulldogs and Cleburne County Tigers. For Anniston, it was a big week last week, winning their 600th game in school history. But they're going to make the trip on the road, Coach Rico Jackson's team. They're going to go out to Ellie Bell Field to face Cleburne County. This is a game that Anniston won a year ago, 42-0. All time, in terms of this game, between these two teams, it is actually Anniston that has an 11-4 game lead. Coach Rico Jackson's team's looking to lock up that third spot in the playoffs. Cleburne County needs help. Everybody has asked about the tiebreaker for Cleburne County, White Plains, and Mumford. Here's where things stand right now. Cleburne County has a win over Northside, non-region. They lost to Boaz, non-region. They lost to Reeltown. So right now they beat Northside. Northside has 3 wins. So right now, Cleburne County has 3 points in tiebreaker. Now, a win over Welborn would win them the tiebreaker, period. It would solidify them the number 4 spot in the playoffs. But if they lose to Welborn, which is expected by many, then they right now have 3 points. Northside has to play Hamilton. They beat Hamilton last year 48-0. Hamilton is currently 1-7. So I'm going to go ahead and give Cleburne County that point and say they have 4 points most. I don't think that Northside is going to beat Sipsey Valley week 10. But the most points they could get if Northside were to win the next 2 weeks would be 5 points. But I'm going to say 4. But right now they have 3. So I'm going to walk you through this scenario. Y'all stay with me. I'm walking you through this tiebreaker scenario. Mumford's in trouble. Mumford does not have the points that is going to be needed in this tiebreaker. Mumford has obviously lost most of their non-region games. We look at Mumford's schedule right here. All right, let's start at the beginning for Mumford. The Lions started the season off with a loss to Childersburg, so that's a non-region loss. They lost to Cherokee County, which is a non-region loss. They lost to Lincoln, which is a non-region loss. Their last game is against Asheville. Asheville does not have a win on the season, so Mumford therefore has 0 points, and Mumford is completely eliminated from the playoffs. There is no way for Mumford to win this tiebreaker. White Plains. So here's how White Plains works. Right now, White Plains started the season off against Ramburn and lost. They also lost to Oak Grove. They lost to Hoax Bluff. They're winless, so they currently have 0 points. But they play Westbrook Christian week 10. Westbrook Christian currently has 4 points. Okay? They're not going to beat Sylvania. So a White Plains win over Westbrook would give them 4 points. All right, now keep in mind, if Northridge beats Hamilton, that's 4 points. If somehow Cleburne County could beat Welborn or Northside could beat Sipsey Valley, then they would be in. But if Northside goes 1-1, if they beat Hamilton and lose to Sipsey Valley, which is expected to have 4 points, and then if White Plains beat Westbrook Christian, that would give them 4 points. Therefore, White Plains would have 4 points. Cleburne County would have 4 points. You got rid of Mumford, goes head-to-head, White Plains won. So the only way White Plains can make the playoffs is they got to beat Westbrook Christian, they need Welborn to beat Cleburne County, and they need Northside to lose one of their next 2 games. If those 3 things happen, White Plains is in the playoffs. If White Plains loses to Westbrook, Cleburne County is in the playoffs. Cleburne County beats Welborn, they're in the playoffs. There's a few different ways this shakes out, but that's where things stand right now for Cleburne County in terms of playoff positioning. This week they play Anniston. Expect Anniston to win that game. And a win over Anniston would solidify them in the playoffs. Cleburne County's got to win one of their next 2 games or hope that White Plains loses to Westbrook. So that's where things stand. It's going to come down to next week for sure in that tiebreaker. Overall, like I said, these 2 teams are 6-6 against each other all time. 11-4. Anniston's 11-4 against Cleburne County all time. All right, let's move on to our next game. It's a big game. Also playoff implications on the line for Piedmont and Hoax Bluff. Hoax Bluff, the Eagles go on the road to the Field of Champion. Last year, this is a game that Piedmont won 28-7. But as we all know, these are not the 2 same teams they were a year ago. Hoax Bluff went on the road last week, just came up short 28-21 to Sylvania. Gave Sylvania all they could have wanted. This is a big game when it comes to playoff sitting. Piedmont has to win this game to make the playoffs. If Piedmont loses this game, they're out. Unless Ohatchee loses to Plainview. But if Ohatchee beats Plainview, they got the head-to-head on Piedmont. And again, you look at non-region games. For Piedmont, you get in a 3-way tie. For Hoax Bluff, they got a win over White Plains. That's not going to give them really any points. A win over Sardis would certainly help their case in Week 10. For Piedmont and the Bulldogs, well, they're non-region. They lost to Cherokee County. They lost to Anniston. And Sylacauga's only give them 1 point. They cannot make the playoffs if they get in a tiebreaker. So they got to beat Hoax Bluff and hope. They got to beat Hoax Bluff. If they don't, they got to hope that Plainview beats Ohatchee. If Ohatchee beats Plainview, Piedmont's done. Season's over. They're not making the playoffs. So that's where things stand right there. These 2 teams have met, you're not going to believe this, 64 times all time. 64 times. And Hoax Bluff actually leads this series 34-29 to 1 tiebreaker. This is a game Piedmont won 28-7 last year. A lot on the line for Piedmont and Hoax Bluff when it comes to playoff seedings. All right, before we take a break very quickly, let's look at the first round of the playoffs. If they started today, a lot can change between now and next week, as we know. But if the playoffs started today, let's start in Class 6A. The Oxford Yellow Jackets would host Athens And then in Class 5A, we don't have a lot of local teams. Alexandria is winless on the season. So Southside would be the closest team. As of right now, they would host Boaz in a rematch. So that's 6A and 5A playoff preview for round one. Hey, we'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk more local East Alabama football. We're going to talk playoff positioning, Week 9 games, and a whole lot more. Don't go away. You're watching The Locker Room, presented by Ted's Floors and Beyond.
Ted's Floors and Beyond is excited to introduce our all-new outdoor living collection. Have you ever dreamed of elevating or even creating an outdoor living space, whether it be for grilling, lounging, playing, entertaining, or just winding down? Our quality tile and stone, combined with our expert craftsmanship, will no doubt create unforgettable outdoor moments with family and friends, while also enhancing the beauty and value of your home. Call us today.
For metal buildings in Alabama and the Southeast, Waldrop Manufacturing is your one-stop source. A Waldrop metal building provides the coverage and protection your investments need. They specialize in carports, RV covers, portable buildings, and storage buildings. Stop paying rent for storage. With Waldrop's price per foot, you can actually save money by buying straight from the manufacturer. Waldrop buildings are guaranteed because Waldrop manufactures buildings with U.S. steel right here in Calhoun County. Waldrop Manufacturing, serving the entire Southeast. Give them a call today. For over 60 years, Oxford Lumber has been servicing our area, and our customer service has always been our main focus. Our customer service is what sets us apart from anyone else. From the moment you enter, our highly trained staff will treat you like family.
To enthusiastically provide total customer satisfaction within a positive and self-fulfilling employee relations environment. Visit us at any of our 4 locations or at oxfordlumber.com.
Since 1993, WM Grocery has been a major part of our local community. WM offers the very best in fresh produce and an outstanding meat department. WM also has many local products not found anywhere else and fresh sushi every day. If you need an event catered, come see Mrs. K at any WM store. Curbside pickup is also available for your online grocery orders. Be sure to download the WM app for all the deals of the week and shopper rewards. Go check them out today at any of their locations.
We take pride in our community and appreciate your business.
Ted's Floors and Beyond brings you The Locker Room each and every day. Ted's Floors and Beyond has all your flooring needs, whether it's hardwood, laminate, carpet, tile, luxury vinyl. They have it for you right there at Ted's. You can go by their showroom there in Anniston and you can pick out what you like, want, and need, and they can do that there at Ted's. Also, they've got their partnership with Welborn Cabinet and will offer you a complete kitchen or bath makeover. That includes cabinets, countertops, flooring, backsplashes, tile showers. They can get it done there at Ted's Floors and Beyond. And now they offer you work on your outdoor space, whether it's an outdoor kitchen, patio, or living space. They have specially made outdoor tiles and stones that can enhance your outdoor experience. So go by and see them today at their showroom in Anniston on Highway 431, right before you get to Sachs Elementary School, or visit them online at shopteds.com. That is shopteds.com. Ted's Floors and Beyond brings you The Locker Room. Welcome back in. We're talking East Alabama football for Week 9, breaking down all the games for this week, looking forward to the first round of the playoffs potentially. Let's pick back up in 4A Region 4. It was a bit of a devastating loss for the White Plains Wildcats last week, and they've got an even tougher task this week when they face the Jacksonville Golden Eagles. White Plains played Mumford in a must-win game last week in terms of the playoff seeding, and they came up just short in overtime, 38-26. For Coach Blake Jennings' team, they need a big win. Whether that's this week against Jacksonville or next week against Westbrook Christian, that's their only hopes of staying alive when it comes to making the playoffs. For the Jacksonville Golden Eagles, it's been pretty much the same all season long. Dominate, and dominate. That's what they've done. Outside of the Hanley game, they've dominated. Jacksonville has looked nearly unstoppable at times. Jim Ogles, Kedrick Fisher, so much talent offensively for the Golden Eagles. We know Coach Clint Smith does an incredible job. Jamison Edwards, another incredible coordinator, one of the best coordinators arguably in the state of Alabama, in my opinion. And so this is a big game. Jacksonville leads this series all-time 10-0. White Plains has never beat Jacksonville in school history, and this is a game that Jacksonville won 48-14 just 1 year ago. So White Plains still looking for their first win of the season. Let's move forward to our next one. It is the Ohatchee Indians must-win game on the road facing a legend, Del Pruitt, and the Plainview Bears. Plainview arguably has the best defense coordinator in the nation, and Jeremy Pruitt, former Alabama defense coordinator, former Tennessee Volunteer head coach. There's a lot on the line for these two teams. Coach Chris Finley's team comes into this game 5-4 on the season, 3-3 in region play. Plainview comes into this game 2-6 on the season, 1-5 in region play. But it is a must-win game for Ohatchee in terms of making the playoffs. Ohatchee does have a big non-region win over Welborn. That's going to give them at least 8 points potentially. So a three-way tie between Hoax Bluff, Piedmont, and Welborn. Hoax Bluff, Piedmont, and Ohatchee. If Piedmont were to beat Hoax Bluff, as long as Ohatchee beats Plainview, they're going to be the 3 seed. So they can be a 4 seed with a Hoax Bluff win. They can be a 3 seed with a Piedmont win. Either way, Ohatchee is in the playoffs if they beat Plainview. If they lose to Plainview for some reason, they're out. Their season is over. Coach Chris Finley's team controls their destiny all time. Well, Plainview and Ohatchee met for the first time a year ago, and it was Ohatchee winning 41-28. So I guess you could say technically Plainview has never beat Ohatchee in school history, but they've only faced each other once. All right, let's move on to Class 6A, Region 6. The Oxford Yellow Jackets. They had a big region championship game a week ago. They lost. They're coming off a tough loss to Clay Chalkville, 28-14. They faced Centerpoint, and all of a sudden, because of that ineligible player that they supposedly said Pell City had, that game is still up for appeal. Centerpoint is technically right here playing Oxford to determine who's going to host in the first round of the playoffs. Who's going to host Athens, potentially. This is a big game. Oxford comes into this game 6-2 on the season. They got that loss to Clay Chalkville, a loss to Hartselle. And for Centerpoint, they come into this game at 7-1 in region overall. Their only loss, they lost 2 games on the field. One of those was overturned, of course, which was the Pell City game. But outside of that, Centerpoint's only loss is to Clay Chalkville. They beat Tylertown, Mississippi, Aliceville, Huffman, Fairfield, Shades Valley, Penton Valley. And again, that Pell City loss was overturned. So as of right now, this is a game to determine who's going to host in the first round of the playoffs. These two teams have met once, and Centerpoint took that game a year ago, 41-24. A little bit of a revenge game for Oxford. They've never beaten Centerpoint in history. So Coach Sam Adams' team is going to go on the road and face a much improved Eagles team led by Coach George Bates. And so this is going to be a great game in Class 6A, Region 6. In terms of the playoffs, let's look at the 1A bracket for the first round right now. In terms of the North Division, Spring Garden right now seems to be hosting Coosa Christian. Woo! Everybody knows about Coosa Christian. That would be a bit of a surprise for those two teams to meet in the first round in a rematch from the regular season at Spring Garden. Valley Head will get Raglan, and then Winterboro will go to Decatur Heritage, and Appalachian will go to Wadley. That is if the playoffs started today in Class 1A. In Class 2A, we know in the South it's a little bit out of here, but right now it looks as if, I don't see 2A South right here where they've got region B.B. Comer hosting Washington County. But in the North, Pleasant Valley is local, and as of right now, they would have a trip to Pisgah. That is a tough game for Pleasant Valley in the first round of the playoffs. So that's the local teams right now in terms of the 2A and 1A playoffs. Hey, when we come back, we've got more games. We're going to wrap this show up looking at 3A and 4A where most of our teams are. Don't go away. Don't go away. You're watching The Locker Room presented by Ted's Floors and Beyond.
Ted's Floors and Beyond is excited to introduce our all-new outdoor living collection. Have you ever dreamed of elevating or even creating an outdoor living space, whether it be for grilling, lounging, playing, entertaining, or just winding down? Our quality tile and stone, combined with our expert craftsmanship, will no doubt create unforgettable outdoor moments with family and friends, while also enhancing the beauty and value of your home. Call us today.
Welcome to Room by Room Home Furnishings, a locally owned and operated furniture store located in Oxford, Alabama. We've been serving Northeast Alabama and the surrounding area since 2007. We offer stylish and affordable new arrivals and all the top trends to help you get a cozy and homey atmosphere with hand-picked home furnishings and decor to fit anybody's style and budget with knowledge, personality, and good vibes. Let Room by Room in Oxford, Alabama help you score amazing deals and turn your house into a home.
Wait! This isn't a game. It's your basement. It's filling with water. And even worse, it's 2 a.m. Who are you gonna call? Time's up. We'll come out 24/7, 365, any day, any time to put out any fires. Well, not actual fire. There's a better number for that. But when it comes to plumbing, call One Tom Plumbing.
Welcome back into the locker room presented by Ted's Floors and Beyond. I am your host, Namath Pitts. Let's continue to talk East Alabama football, and let's look at our next game, which is Gaston at Pleasant Valley. We were just talking about the Raiders before the break. The Raiders, obviously, right now, looks as if they're going to go on the road to Pisgah in round one of the playoffs. And for Pleasant Valley, they had an opportunity to do something they hadn't done since 1984, and that was host a home playoff game, but they fell short to Southeastern a week ago. But this is a game that Pleasant Valley did win a year ago, 20-14, so a little closer than Pleasant Valley would have liked. And Gaston actually leads this all-time series against Pleasant Valley 7-6. But Coach Jonathan Nix's team is 4-4. They get Gaston, then Weaver to close the season. They're looking to have a winning season for the first time. And, oh my gosh, I don't know the last time Pleasant Valley had a winning season, to be honest with you. 2019 was 5-5. 2018 was 5-5. Let's keep 2008. 2008 was the last time Pleasant Valley had a winning season, not a 500 season, a winning season. That is crazy to think about. Pleasant Valley is breaking a lot of records this year that hadn't been broken in a long time. The Pleasant Valley Raiders get Coach Allen Beckett and Gaston this week. This is another 2A region game for Pleasant Valley before they prepare for the playoffs. Ramburn, the Bulldogs. It's been a bit of a struggle for Ramburn. To be honest with you, they had two big games against Isabella and Thorsby back-to-back week. Came up short in both those games. For Coach Stephen Bailey's team, their season's over. There's no way for them to make the playoffs. So you're just playing for momentum towards next season. They're 3-5 on the season. They're going on the road to Central Coosa. Last year was the first time these two teams met. Ramburn won that game 64-14. And for Central Coosa and Shandell Rusaw, 2-6. Been a lot of the same. They played in a really tough 2A Region 4. I mean, again, just like Ramburn, they just ain't got the guys to stay week to week in this region. So Central Coosa's season's going to be over just like Ramburn in just 2 weeks. But Ramburn Bulldogs, Coach Stephen Bailey looking for their fourth win of the season when they face off against the Central Coosa Cougars. For the Wellborn Panthers, it's been a year of history. Jeff Smith became the winningest coach in Wellborn history. They won 100 games under Jeff Smith. They won their first region championship under Jeff Smith. And for Sachs and Alfonso Freeney in his first season, it's been the opposite. It's been a lot of bad. They're winless on the season. Talladega seems to be the only game that they'd have a chance to get a win, which is next week. It's been a struggle for Sachs, and this week's going to be a lot of the same. I'm expecting a dominant showing by Jeff Smith's Wellborn Panthers to finish region play undefeated, move to 7-2 on the season. And, it's just there's really not a lot to say about this one. The script's kind of already been written. Wellborn is going to probably win this game in big fashion. It's been a year of history for Jeff Smith's Panthers. But good luck to Sachs and Alfonso Freeney as they look to rebuild this offseason and improve before next year. And our last game is a bit of an interesting one. Beulah at Weaver. Now, a lot of people have been saying if we can beat Beulah, there's a tiebreaker. But I've looked at the tiebreaker scenarios. There's just not any way for Weaver to get in the playoffs. There's not. They beat Donahue, who's winless. They lost to Glencoe non-region wise. They beat Asbury, who has not won a game. So as of right now, they've won one game. So as of right now, they've got 1 point when it comes to non-region. And if you do beat Beulah somehow, Beulah beat Abbeville non-region wise. Abbeville's won one game, so they're already matched right there. They beat they lost to Lochapoka, pardon me. They lost to Prattville Christian. So really it comes down to Horseshoe Bend. But if Beulah beats Horseshoe Bend, that's 3 points. So that would eliminate Weaver right there. And then Dadeville, you get a three-way tie right there. Dadeville, of course, is Dadeville's not looking pretty either. Weaver might have a chance. They'd have to beat Wicksburg. If Dadeville wins next week and Beulah wins next week, even if Weaver won this week, they'd be eliminated. They need one of them two teams to lose, preferably Dadeville, because then you get head-to-head. If Beulah wins next week, they're essentially done. So not looking likely for Weaver, but you can control what you can control. This would be a big win against Beulah. And for Beulah, the Bobcats, this is a team that a lot of people are not familiar with, but Matthew Johnson does a good job for Beulah. This is a school down in Valley. They're currently 3-5 on the season, but they have some good wins. They beat Childersburg. That was a good win. They beat Abbeville. I know Abbeville's been struggling, but still to start your season strong like that. And they, had 2 picks go the other way against Randolph County in the fourth quarter last week, or that game could look a lot different. But let's look at the playoffs in terms of 3A if it were to start today, and let's start in the South with Wellborn. If the playoffs started today, it seems if Wellborn would host Flomaton in round 1 at the Hill. The Hurricanes would make the trip up north to the Hill. That's the only local team in the South right now. And then in the North, as of right now, Hoax Bluff would go on the road to J.B. Pennington. Ohatchee would go on the road to Madison Academy. And then that's it. Sylvania and Geraldine are a little bit out, and Piedmont right now is out of the playoffs. So that's a little crazy. Hoax Bluff would go to J.B. Pennington. Ohatchee would take a tough trip to Madison Academy. Class 7A, there's no reason to look at it. We don't have any local teams. 4A South. As of right now, Cleburne County holds that tiebreaker spot over Mumford and White Plains, so they would make the trip to Jackson. You would have St. Michael's, that's, by the way, Phillip Rivers' team, would head to Hanley. Then you'd have Jacksonville hosting Bayside Academy and Anniston going on the road to T.R. Miller. In the North, right now, it would be Etowah at West Morgan and Central Florence at Cherokee County. That's your local matchups for the first round of the playoffs, potentially. Next week, we'll have even more tiebreakers. Next week, we'll be joined in studio by a legend to break down all these tiebreakers, look at the first round of the playoffs and all that. And then week 1 of the playoffs, we'll be joined by Gerhard Matangati from Mobile himself as we look at these north-south matchups in the first round of the playoffs for some of our teams. And we got a lot of that coming. But tomorrow, I'll be at the Von Braun Center in Huntsville, Alabama, and we are going to talk volleyball on Thursday and Friday and talk about all the regional matchups. Don't miss it. Be back here tomorrow at 5 p.m. inside the locker room. I'm Namath Pitts, as always. Thank you for tuning in. God bless. You've been watching The Locker Room, presented by Ted's Floors and Beyond.